Religion was created to confuse. It wasn't created to tell you the truth, because there's no truth in religion. Even though they throw some little truths in the Bible and in the Quran and in the Talmud and all of these areas of reading, but that's only to confuse you. It's the knowledge of good and evil. And there it is again. You know? So what you have to do, as he said, you have to be born again in the spirit. That's the only way that you will be able to receive and perceive the kingdom of God. So what is the kingdom of God? When he says, the kingdom of heaven is within you. It's divine perception. But you have to be rid of all of this religious doctrine stuff that we've been programmed. You have to allow yourself to let go. And in letting go, you have to allow yourself to be afraid of letting go. You have to allow yourself to feel insecure without your current religion. And you have to understand that the Creator has already given you what you need in order to function in this society. It's called wisdom and intelligence. It's already sitting up inside of you. And stop going to these pastors, asking these pastors to pray for you. You already have what you need. When he says, go and sin no more, you already have what you need. Just stop it. Whatever you're doing that's causing your own self-destruction or deviation from what you know is correct, end it. As they say, cold turkey, end it. And if you can't end it immediately, allow it to die inside of you. People say, I'm working on it. No, you can't work on anything. You have to negate it. Every time it shows it shows its presence in you. No longer claim it as a part of who and what you are. Don't give it any attention. Don't give it any function or anything. Allow it to die. Allow it to die. Purge yourself. Don't feed those drives anymore. You know, people say, you know, because I used to always say, well, I'm like this and I'm like that. I'm like this and I'm like that. But if you read into those particular characteristics that you spend time claiming all the time, do those particular characteristics line up with what is divine to your particular understanding? There was a sister in the ministry, in Exalt Ministries. She went by the name of Sister Virginia. She used to, she was a pimptress. And I noticed with her, whenever she would resort back to talking about her past as being a pimptress, I used to always look at her and she talked with such excitement. And it was almost like she would light up with bliss while she talked about it. And so one evening I was on the phone with her and she brought that up. And I told her, I said, you know, Sister Virginia, I'm happy that you brought that up. I said, so I wanted to tell you, stop being proud of that past. If you've left that past behind and if you condemn it, allow it to die. Remove your pride from it. Because every time you talk about it in a way to where you're proud of that past, even though you claim to condemn it. Be born again in the spirit. Allow it to die. The same as I did in Georgia. You know, it was a sister that asked me, what did you mean when you say you separated yourself from him, from your former self? I condemned him. You have to condemn the former self if you are ready to receive the newness of the mind. That other human being has to die because that other human being was inhumane and he caused you problems, even if his intentions were good. His good intentions obviously wasn't good for you, other than the lesson that you had to learn. And that's it. And that's he or she. You know, whether you're a man that's going through it or a woman that's going through it, you have to die in order to live. That's what it's all about. If you truly want to live, you have to understand what death is and its quality. We've been taught that death of the organism is the death itself. But as Sir Jiddu Krishnamurti had said, he said, everything, the stress and the anxiety and all of those things, the emptying of that is the real death. That is the real death. And Yeshua spoke of that. Except a man or a woman be born again, not reborn, born again, only then can he or she perceive the kingdom, because the organism is limited intellectually because of the information. It's limited. And so you have to be born again in the spirit that you may have clarity, so that you can clearly see the kingdom. And it has nothing to do with knowledge. It has everything to do with moving forwards and into the new day and not looking back or even perceiving back, but just moving forward. Just moving forward. It's not as complicated as organized religion has made it through their pastors, you might as well say. See, the church was created so that mankind and womankind can depend solely on them, while they depend on the government. Because if you look in the churches today, you remember when Bush was in office? How can any of us forget, right? The Bush administration created a federal grant for each church. It was called the faith-based, the faith-based grant. And they was willing to finance churches. This is one of the reasons why you see a lot of American flags in churches now. And if you happen to walk into a church and it has an American flag in there, there's a very good chance that pastor is getting paid every month. And the stipulation with that is they will finance your church as long as you don't speak anything against the government. And as long as you continue to encourage your congregation to take part in the voting process and, the government dealings. However, Yeshua said, my kingdom is not of this world. And who did he say that to? He said it to Pontius Pilate, who was a politician. You are not supposed to be involved in any political dealings in this world. When Obama was coming into office, it was a whole lot of so-called black people voting for him simply because of the color of his skin. And then when he got in office, Obama was dropping bombs everywhere. He spilled so much blood, just like all the rest of the presidents did. And so when I was out speaking in little short gatherings, I would ask them, how do you feel now? You voted this man in. You set him in that seat. So all of the blood that you see him spilling overseas, that blood is on your hands too. And a lot of people say, no, it's not on my hands. Yes, it is. Because Yeshua told you, do not participate. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. He said, render that which is Caesar's, and you render God what is God. What does that mean? Pay your taxes. That's it. That's all you have to do is pay your taxes. As a follower of Yeshua's example, that is the only thing that you should do in terms of cooperation with this government. Pay your taxes. That's the law of the land. It's that simple. Now a lot of people say, you're not being realistic. Yeah, I'm being very realistic. It's just that we've been programmed and educated and therefore miseducated against what the message is all about. And if you look at the message is very humane. The only thing he's telling you is how to think like a human being. If the government is dropping bombs on people overseas, spilling the blood of people overseas and creating wars all over the planet, I'm not going to vote any of these politicians in because I don't support anything that this government is about. You vote a man in the seat, whether he's black, white, green, or yellow. You're responsible for everything that he does from that point on because you helped sit him in that seat. But you want to know why you're doing it? Because you're Christian and you're not a disciple. I want you to go to Matthew chapter 10, verse 42. And I would suggest the King James Version because he talks about that. He said, do these things only in the name of a disciple. He never had Christians. He said, if any man be my disciple. What does disciple mean? One who is being crystallized into oneness with God, following the example of Yeshua, the Christ. And that is very accurate. Good morning. This is a continuation of the video that I was asked to elaborate on more so. And the previous video, its title was The Teachings of Yeshua Considered Cruel. Now, many people didn't read the title of that video correctly. I did not say that the teachings of Yeshua were cruel. I said, were the teachings of Yeshua considered cruel? The distinction between that, and this is only going towards those who misunderstood. If the teachings of Yeshua were cruel, then that outlook or insight
would be our observation of him in particular, and that would be coming from, the cruelty would be coming from his words and his actions. But the title of it, were the teachings of Yeshua considered cruel? The consideration is those who observe him from the outside based upon common relationships in human relationships on pretty much every level. What I mainly stressed mostly and was trying to get across was by understanding the teachings, which are spiritual teachings, what those teachings have imbued in them is the ability not to allow emotions to dictate your decisions. And that's pretty much equivalent to when he told Peter to suffer it be so, for you let the dead bury their dead. Now, if you were in Peter's position in terms of his family, one of your family members passing away, and you wanted to go home to prepare them for their ceremonies and their burials and areas like that. And if he told you to suffer it be so, and you let the dead bury their dead, how would you feel towards him? How would you feel? Because before, Peter had told him, I have to go home and bury my father. Yeshua told him, suffer it be so, and you let the dead bury their dead. The suffering is the pulling away from the common attachments to the family and the common attachments to traditional ethics as far as preparing your parents' funeral and all of those things. Because, as I said before, by him being absent for 18 years without his mother knowing where he was, the first thing that he did when he came back at the age of 30, when he left at the age of 13, he went straight to the temple. So he wasn't emotionally attached to the common human responses of going home, letting his mother know where he's been and the fact that he was alive. It took some other people who recognized him as Mary's son to inform her where he was. So the teachings of Yeshua deals with a lot of self-observation, and the teachings of Yeshua lets you know that you can have any emotional attachments, you can have any type of materialistic attachments. This is why he told all of his disciples to leave everything behind, not only materialistic, but your thinking process, intellectually and emotionally. If you're able to do that, then you are able to become in time a disciple, which one who is struggling to be as he was, the way, the truth, and the life. Now, I'm going to bring up some things. When I was in Atlanta, I used to go to Dr. King's church, Ebenezer Baptist Church, and there were some speeches that I would sit up in the second row at the church, and I would listen to some of these speeches in comparison to what this system allowed us to hear, the common Dr. King speeches and everything. What I perceived from listening to a whole lot of the speeches that were not put in the public for us to listen to, what I learned about Dr. King is that he started pulling himself away from politics. And he had came to realize that him campaigning this wicked government to open up doors so that the Black community can be more so included into the system, he had in time started seeing and understanding things in a more spiritual way, in harmony of how Yeshua had taught all of his disciples not to be involved in the political areas of the system, as far as what Paul has said, in Rome do what the Romans do. No, a disciple doesn't do what the Romans do. A disciple is he or she who tries to remove those people who have been caught up in Roman culture and therefore American culture, and pull them away from that and come in a state of enlightenment of what the kingdom of heaven is supposed to be. And that is what's going on in the human being. Hopefully I explained that close enough for many of you to understand. But in time, he has said, I'm starting to think that I'm integrating our people into a burning house, which was Babylon. And we all know that America is in fact Babylon. This is why I was saying, if you understand that man's mind, when he said, my kingdom is not of this world, there's also a perception that you can get from that. When he says that, I will say it in another form. My kingdom is not of this system. This is the reason why he never said that he was Roman. He never said that he belonged to any political party. He never said that he was Jew. You know, when he said, are you, when he asked him, are you the king of the Jews? He said, no, you say that I'm the king of the Jews. Therefore, he didn't claim any nationality. And so we come up in Babylon, where we're taught to call ourselves and consider ourselves Black, white, Hispanic. All of those things are political titles that have been imposed on us even before we ventured from the wombs of our mother. These are systematic titles that have already been established even before we are born. And this is why the word says, you are born in sin and shaped in the iniquities of the world. The iniquities of the world have us calling ourselves Black, white, Hispanic, Democrat, Republicans, Christian, Muslim, all of these different areas in which separates humanity from itself. And if you are separated from humanity, then you are in fact separated from yourself in general. So this is one of the reasons why he was telling you the truth will make you free. Making something implies a time element of detaching yourself from the common forces that are imposed on you within this world system. This is why he said, my kingdom is not of this world. And when you speak against any government system, that government system is going to put you on Calvary. You're going to find a whole lot of your preacher friends turn against you, as what happened to me in the 90s. You're going to find the government is going to influence people to break themselves from you as far as your common relationships and friendships, and it's even going to happen in some of your families. These things are going to happen in front of your families. Okay? And this is one of the reasons why his teachings could be considered cruel if you don't really understand how to perceive them correctly. And when you walk in the path that Yeshua revealed, that path is for the betterment of humanity. And when you are on the path of the betterment of humanity, you're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family members, you're going to be betrayed within your circle as he was betrayed by some of his disciples. You're going to find yourself having to understand what it means to be alone and secure in being alone. Okay? And so it's really not a cruel teaching, but if you're caught up in the way that this system imposes you to think, most people would consider his teachings cruel because he didn't have any attachments. He had even gotten to the point to where he didn't even consider Mary his mother anymore. There's some scriptures in the Bible to where he simply called her woman. He never called her mother, because that would imply having some type of attachment. When he came back, he died of all of those different areas within his being that would cause him to divert from 100% submission of doing God's, you might as well say, like you said, God's business, which is humanity itself. And if you listen to what he told the women on Calvary, when they were weeping for him, he said, "Don't weep for me, weep for yourselves and your children." Look at what's going on today in this society. It's going to get to the point, and Babylon, which is America, is getting ready to take us down that path to where a lot of pastors who are going to become enlightened, they are going to get those American flags out of their churches, and they're going to start rejecting those faith-based initiative grants. They're going to start rejecting the money. They're going to start taking those Babylonian flags out of their churches. And once they are able to speak the truth, because they are no longer a part of this government system, there's going to be people who are still a part of this common existence within this system, who are going to remain Democrats, Republicans, liberals, and all of those things that they have yet died to. And there's going to be some that are going to be in refusal to die to those things. Those are the people who are going to turn against these pastors who have become enlightened, and therefore they are no longer Christian. They have actually become disciples of Christ, and what that actually means. These pastors will come into a state of enlightenment that is based upon the spirit of truth, which in itself, they will become the anointed ones as Christ was. Those are the men who will be able to say, "I am in fact Christ-like, because I am non-conforming." And there's going to be people in these congregations who are going to actually start to get it. They're going to actually start to get it. So this walk that Yeshua showed us in regards to making humanity better than what it is, it's not an easy walk. It's a difficult walk, but it's not impossible to accomplish. This is why he said, "If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and turn from their wicked ways," well, humble themselves and pray and turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven. and heal the land. As I explained before, in that scripture is based upon the Beatitudes that Yeshua was trying to teach every human being that already have this within themselves. You actually can turn from your wicked ways yourself, but you have to pray to get the strength and the perception and the enlightenment to know how to tap into that within yourself, that you may actually be able to know of how to turn from those ways that are considered wicked in the sight of God. And only then will you no longer be a Christian. You will be a disciple. You will be a disciple. And only disciples can make humanity a better place to exist. Not Christians, not Muslims, only a disciple. Only a disciple. Now, if some of my Muslim friends get upset about me not involving Muhammad in this, do not forget that in a lot of scriptures that are in the Quran, Muhammad looked up to Jesus. He said that Jesus was a perfect manifestation of the word. Now you can go also in the Sunni and all of those other books. So there is no actual distinction between becoming a disciple and becoming a Muslim, which is one who submits 100% to the will of Allah and God. There's really no distinction. So this is why it is important for all of us stop the arguing back and forth. Sit at the table and understand how very important it is that we all become one in one mind and spirit. This is what I've been pushing. But the teachings that he brought forth from God could be considered cruel by those who don't understand how much it is important to have no materialistic attachments, no emotional or intellectual attachments, to where what is only important, not most important, but what is only important is making humanity a better place to live. And the only way that humanity will become a better place to live, we have to understand that that's only going to manifest by us knowing what it means to be a complete human being. So with all of that being said, I'm going to cut that short because I have some things to attend to today. But as I say again, I did not say his teachings were cruel. I said, were his teachings considered cruel? And I feel as though I have explained that effectively. So with all of that being said, everyone have a good day and stay human. Peace.